Me and a good friend of mine were having a debate. It was kind of a heated debate. And after doing a little bit of back and forth, he said something really I thought was really silly, right? So I laughed my normal laugh. And he looks at me and goes, "You and that stupid Scooby-Doo laugh of yours." And I was like, "Wait a minute." Then I went, and ever since then, it just kind of became a part of me. So I started my podcast because of a failure, believe it or not. What happened was when I first started to want to have a business for myself, I wanted to be a karaoke DJ and a music DJ. So I was like, I'm really excited about doing this because I love music and I love electronic music and I love karaoke because I like to sing. But I had no equipment, I had no money, I had absolutely nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start a GoFundMe page and people are just going to give me money. And obviously that didn't happen. I think I only made a couple $100s in a couple months, and I'm pretty sure that was my mom helping me out, so I didn't feel so bad about myself. 3 years later, over 200 episodes, it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk to people like you and learn from so many other amazing people. So we're just going to keep going with the podcast for now.
You're listening to the Future Jobs Podcast, the show that explores the skills, careers, and technology shaping tomorrow's world of work. Hosted by Fahad Jobswala.
JC Blount is the host of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur podcast, where he gives a platform to new and rising entrepreneurs and ideas. JC is passionate about helping people who are just getting started. He focuses on early stage entrepreneurship, personal growth, confidence building, and also shares how his experience with ADHD has helped him stay creative and energetic. It's all about giving a voice to those who haven't been heard yet. JC, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I'm glad to be on your podcast. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Let me tell you about the thing which just Jesse did. This is his unique way, and he usually use this way in his own podcast as well. That's why he called Scoop. He just mentioned earlier when we were having a chit chat before this podcast. Um, like, mostly people know him as a Scoop. You probably watched the cartoon Scooby-Doo. There's a character Scooby, and he laugh with the same way as he does. So it's a very great and unique way. I didn't see such kind of thing before that.
Yeah, it's just basically a way for people to remember who I am. I've been doing it for most of my life, and people seem to remember me basically by that. So I use it as part of my branding for my podcast.
Amazing. So I should probably start from this. So how did this amazing way came in your mind? Like, did you were you a big fan of Scooby-Doo cartoon, or what was that? Could you tell us that about that?
So it's a funny thing how that came about. And this is a while ago, so I had to remember back a little bit. But me and a good friend of mine were having a debate. It was kind of a heated debate. And after doing a little bit of back and forth, he said something really I thought was really silly, right? So I laughed my normal laugh. And he looks at me and goes, "You and that stupid Scooby-Doo laugh of yours." And I was like, "Wait a minute." Then I went, and ever since then, it just kind of became a part of me. I've always watched Scooby-Doo when I was growing up, but I didn't know I could do the Scooby-Doo laugh until that accidental laugh. And it just kind of worked out that way.
Exactly. That is a great story behind this amazing love, and that is absolutely amazing. So, JC, how did you started your podcast, and probably why you started your podcast?
So I started my podcast because of a failure, believe it or not. What happened was when I first started to want to have a business for myself, I wanted to be a karaoke DJ and a music DJ. So I was like, I'm really excited about doing this because I love music and I love electronic music and I love karaoke because I like to sing. But I had no equipment, I had no money, I had absolutely nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start a GoFundMe page and people are just going to give me money. And obviously that didn't happen. I think I only made a couple $100 in a couple months, and I'm pretty sure that was my mom helping me out, so I didn't feel so bad about myself. So after that ended, I sit instead of throwing my hands up in the air and saying, "Okay, this was a failure. I'm not going to do this. It wasn't meant for me." I took a different kind of mindset to it, and I was like, "Why didn't it work? What could I have done to make this actually work?" So after doing a lot of research about crowdfunding, I heard in a book. I listen to my books. I don't read my books because reading books puts me to sleep, so I listen to them. I heard in a book that starting a podcast about something would help you gain followers, and then you have a crowdfund and those followers help you. So I decided, okay, what am I going to podcast about? I love podcasts. How am I going to do it? And I thought to myself, well, I'm a new entrepreneur. I'm just getting started. Why don't I talk to other new entrepreneurs that are just getting started? And that way we're all kind of in the same boat and we can help each other. And I loved podcasting so much that I put the karaoke thing aside. I still want to do it, but I put the karaoke thing aside for now. And now I'm concentrating on helping new entrepreneurs get started in their entrepreneur adventure. And now, 3 years later, over 200 episodes, it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk to people like you and learn from so many other amazing people. So we're just going to keep going with the podcast for now.
Great. That is really amazing. Like you heard from a book that starting your own podcast can help you to learn many things. And it really does. As I started my podcast and as my experience was been very great. That I learned many things from guests. Even the fact that I learned this amazing the fluent English I'm speaking, that I can speak English very fluently and easily. I learned this as well from the guests, I invited on my podcast because, since I love to do English podcasts, I'm inviting American guests mostly on my podcast. So it's really great. And you've mentioned about that you also do coaching for entrepreneurs to help them, grow and for your personal growth, etc. So could you tell us how's your experience with that, and when did you start that?
So coaching has been amazing for me just because I love helping other people. Helping other people is definitely in my zone of genius because I love seeing them light up when they have that aha moment, when they have, oh, I didn't think of that. That's something I could really use. And that just makes me feel good because now I've helped them get over a hurdle and helped them get over a hump that they couldn't get over before. And I've watched them take off from there. And that just makes me feel good. So I want to keep doing that. Coaching for me has been it's a constant learning because I have to keep myself self-educated all the time. So I listen to a lot of entrepreneur books and learning constantly. That way, when I come across somebody that needs to know that thing, I know it already, and I could tell them what the answer is, or I could have them come up with their own answer and go with that. Because it's not so much more of me telling them what to do, but helping them come up with the idea for themselves. So instead of telling them what to do, I like to brainstorm with them and have them come up with the idea because you're a lot more likely to do something if you come up with it yourself. So that's what my goal is. I help them find their zone of genius and I help them get over something I call the 4 hurdles of stop. And the thing that stops us from getting across the start line, which is imposter syndrome, perfectionism, failure, and fear. If we can get over these hurdles, then there's no stopping us from doing anything. And that's what I try to teach people. That's what I try to coach about when I talk to new clients.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And although life is very simple, but when we face these kind of hurdles and all we do, we are facing some kind of hurdles, some challenges, which are not letting us to succeed in our life. And these, even they are small, but as they because they are challenges and the hurdles, so we usually have to contact some coaches, for that. And you're doing absolutely amazing that you're helping these kind of entrepreneurs. So since It's been 3 years, and you have recorded 102 episodes of your podcast. So, which is the most difficult episode so far?
Difficult episode. Wow. I've asked what my best is, but I've never heard what my difficult was most ones. Oh boy, you're gonna make me think here a little bit. Let's see. Difficult. I'm it's hard to it's never really been difficult. I'm gonna be honest with you, because it's always been a learning experience and really depends on your definition of what difficult is. So if it's difficult technically, um,
Like
I've
any kind of hard guess, whatever you call it, like where you like any guest who is answering you just one liner is giving one liner answer, or any other thing would have happened which made your podcast or that episode very difficult, then you gone, oh, when will this podcast episode finish?
um I've had one or two that I did recordings on that were like that. Were like, okay, I'm gonna ask the question, and then they wouldn't expand on the question. They just answered the question and then waited for the next one. And I think it's more along the lines of they were scared to maybe put themselves out there more than was needed. So it's really sometimes hard to dig in when they don't want to. So I've had 2 or 3 episodes that, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't actually put them out because the quality wasn't there. Quality is very important to me when it comes to a podcast. But sometimes, especially when you run a business or a podcast or anything else for that matter, you have to make those hard decisions. But I had one young lady who was just starting, and it was the first time she was on a podcast, and and I was asking about, she sells candles, basically homemade candles, and she would just kind of answer the question, and I would dig, and I got her to talk a little bit, but in the end, it was very, very difficult to get her to actually expand. And then I ended up, after that podcast, actually ended up coaching her for a short amount of time to help her get over that fear of putting herself out there, so she would actually, when she get onto a podcast or something like that, she can actually expand and tell people about herself and what she wants to accomplish and that kind of thing. And later on, I saw her grow a little bit. So it was tough, but at the end, I was able to help her kind of get out of her shell a little bit, which was good.
Amazing, I would say it is really amazing that any worst thing haven't happened with you, with your podcast. But as I recorded more than 350 plus episodes, so many worse things have happened, with me. And the very great podcast episode which I've recorded, is still in pending. And it's like there are a lot of things. So as you mentioned yourself that any technical issue, so is that kind of anything happened with you, any technical difficulty?
So I think the most technical difficulty thing I've always come across is bad internet, and I think that's kind of that's everywhere. I mean, where I mean you're like halfway through a live stream or whatever, and suddenly everybody sounds like a robot. It's it's just part of it. We have to kind of take the technology with what we got, but also editing's every once in a while gets kind of difficult. You're doing live, so you don't have to worry about editing. But I do edit my podcasts, and sometimes it could be difficult wondering, what part we need to cut out to save time. What if this is sounds good enough to put out, that kind of thing too. So that always makes me nervous. But there's a lot of decisions that need to be made when making a podcast or making a business. It's all a lot of decision making.
Exactly. That's what is all about. So what tools or habits have completely changed the way you work?
What tools have completely changed the way I work? So it was more of a learning curve than everything else. But when I first started, my podcast, I used Audacity for my editing. And that it's a very simple free tool that I use that anybody can use. But that took a lot of time to be able to use. So I learned about something called Descript, and Descript saves me so much time in editing because it uses an AI to be able to find specific things, sounds, that kind of thing. So if I wanted all my ums and ahs deleted, all I have to do is press one button and they're all gone. It also gives me a transcript, and when you delete something in the transcript, it deletes it in the video. So it saves me so much time to be able to, and you could see the progression that you have where you start out with something free, but it takes a little bit of time. But as you learn the process and what works for you, you learn that it could save you so much time and energies and things like that by using something. Maybe it costs a little bit more, but the time savings that you have in the process is well worth the money. Also, the progression of AI has had a lot to do with this. Like this background, there's no way I drew this background. Okay, y'all, this is an AI background. But I never would have been able to do this when I first started out. AI pictures and that kind of thing was not a thing. So seeing the progression of that type of tool for me has saved me a lot of energies and made things look better for me. And I'm a stick figure guy. I can't draw anything. I'm going to be honest with you. So having something like this behind me is amazing.
Exactly, exactly. You did a great thing that you mentioned about it, because I was watching reels and I was scrolling, up and down. Then I've gone through from an AI made video. Um, I don't know what was that about, but when I went on comments, I was reading the comments. Then I found out that there are still such uneducated people who still are not aware of AI. Who still don't know that what AI is doing. I was very shocked that uh, I was thinking that are they blind or what? They are not understanding that this is made of AI. So we have to learn it, and there's still less awareness of AI. We have to spread more awareness related to AI. So your name of podcast, Undiscovered, you know, Entrepreneurs. Uh, what was that? So what does the word undiscovered mean to you in the context of entrepreneurship?
So a lot of us that are just getting started, because that's what I concentrate on, is people that are just getting started. We are thriving on trying to be discovered. We want to be discovered. We want people to know who we are and what we're doing, because that's the whole reason why we're doing this. But when we first getting started, we are not discovered yet. Nobody had discovered us yet. Nobody knows who we are. So we are undiscovered. And those are the people that I concentrate on. Those are the people that I want to follow me, are the people that are undiscovered, so they can be discovered in one way, shape, or form, whether it be in my podcast or on their own or coaching or anything other like that. And we're all undiscovered entrepreneurs that are trying to be discovered. And that's why I call it that.
Amazing, and I'm very agreed with you with that we are still undiscovered. We don't know what our passion is. We don't know what our real talent is. We are just moving with the eras. We are just moving with the circumstances, wherever circumstances are throwing us, at. But we don't know what our talent is. Where we could be well fit. You know, which thing is made for us and which thing is not made for us. So that is the great thing. So, what is the biggest lesson you have learned from an entrepreneur you've interviewed?
So the biggest lesson I've learned is how to find my zone of genius, how to find the one thing that I love to do so much in my life that I don't care if I get paid for it. I want to do it. And that's how you find your zone of genius. The one thing you don't mind if you even get paid. Like if you get paid, it's just a bonus. But something that you love so much that you're willing to do it whenever, and then take that zone of genius and find out how to help other people with that zone of genius. Because we all rise by lifting others. How are we going to lift others with the zone of genius that I have in my heart? That's been the biggest thing. I learned about that in the book called The Big Leap. And somebody, it was actually a guest named Cliff Ravenscraft that told me about this book and how it changed his life. So I had to get that book, obviously. And once I got my hands on that book and I listened to that book, I listen to that book now at least once a month, because it made such a profound thing in my life to be able to find my zone of genius and then find ways to help other people with that zone of genius. So I always encourage anybody else to find your zone of genius. If you need to know what your zone of genius is, you're not sure you're sure of what it is. In my podcast, I have a couple of episodes where you could answer some questions to help you find your zone of genius. And that's what I do in my coaching too. I help you find your zone of genius and then use that to kind of branch off from there. So finding my zone of genius has been the one piece of advice that has made the biggest impact in my life.
Zone of genius. Oh, that is great. So could you more elaborate on that? Like, um, what could be the zone of genius, and what do you mean by that?
So zone of genius, there's different zones that let's see, how can I explain this easily? There are 4 different zones that we work in. There's the zone of genius, the zone of excellence, zone of, now you're gonna make me remember this because I usually don't go past that zone. Zone of competence and zone of, this isn't for me, basically. So, like, for example, if you were to put math in front of me, that is not in my zone of genius. I cannot do math. I'm going to be honest with you. Math is not in my zone of genius at all. So something like that, I'd want to hand off to somebody else. So if it's something that you really aren't really good at, something that it's part of your business that you're not really good at, if you can hand that off to somebody else where it's in their zone of genius. For example, editing. Not everybody likes editing their podcast. So what we do is we'll hire somebody else to do that for us. That's somebody that does it really, really well. That's in their zone of genius. Then we talk about the 2 zones that are really hard are zone of excellence and the zone of genius. A lot of times we are in something that we know we're really good at, and we do it efficiently, but we don't love doing it, but we're good at it. That's our zone of excellence. What we want to do is go over that step. They're so close together. A lot of people for years were working their zone of excellence, but not working their zone of genius. Getting into that zone of genius is where we want to be. And finding out what that is going to be a big part of what you do with the rest of your life. And it's going to make you happier. It's going to make you work more. And you'll be happy about it. It won't even feel like work. It'll feel like something you just love to do. And that just happens to be something that you can get paid for. So
Amazing. Like the thing which we like to do and we're good at, this is the zone of genius, and the thing which we don't like to do but we are still doing this, because we are good at. This is the zone of excellence. That is really amazing, and I would say very helpful thing. So you're passionate about helping others. Who helped you when you were just starting out?
so it's interesting. In my searching, I ended up having virtual mentors. These are people that I follow, I learn from, but they don't know who I am. So like my virtual mentor was a gentleman named Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn has been an entrepreneur for 15 years or so, and I learned how to podcast through his YouTube videos. I learned how to run businesses through his books and that kind of thing. So he eventually was the person that helped me more than anybody else, yet he didn't know who I am. Now, as I went along in my entrepreneur adventure, he started to realize who I was because I would message him on Twitter X or whatever it is now. I would follow him in his live streams, and he started to realize who I was. So just recently, he was actually on my podcast. This is some insider information. He was on my podcast. His episode is going to be released in 2 weeks, but he was the one that gave me the inspiration to do what I do, because his big thing is to serve first before anything else. I think that's one of the big things that hit me about him. We serve others first before we ask. And I really believe in that. And he taught me that. Even though at that time he didn't know who I was, he still taught me that. So in a roundabout way, he's the one that actually inspired me the most.
Amazing, like someone who mentors you, but he didn't knew that who you are, like if put it on that way, as we do like on YouTube, we used to watch many different videos, through YouTube, um, as we follow Azad Chaiwala, Sarhan Wala, and to be honest, I started watching to Sarhan Wala on YouTube first. I was his more than 20 plus videos, on YouTube. I learned many things from him. Then um, I took my admission in Rehan School Online Academy. So it is like the same way, Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. We
But
start somewhere.
yeah, exactly. You can continue.
Okay, I want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. So we all start from somewhere. That's the thing. That's what I call getting across the start line. And I have to have the idea first of what we want to do, and then go from there. Some of us don't even have that yet, so we have to get across the start line in our entrepreneur adventure. And sometimes we go to YouTube University and kind of research something to see if we like it. And that's what I ended up doing when I had my failure and decided that podcasting was the way to go. Okay, I need to learn how to podcast. Where's the first place I went? The first place I went was YouTube. How do I do a podcast? And the first guy that was there was Pat Flynn, and I liked the way he taught, so I just kind of went with it that way. Started listening to his podcast and started learning from it there. He has at this moment over 800 episodes of his podcast, and I've listened to every single one of them because I like that he's the one that I wanted to learn from. So I hope someday, we'll see what happens, that somebody does that for me in my podcast, in my YouTube, and somebody learns something from me and decides to go along that way. That's kind of what I want to do.
Exactly. It's it's great to hear about that, and I invited a guest as well on my podcast who has recorded over 1,000 plus episodes of their own podcast. And the interesting thing was that she started her podcast when I born.
Yeah.
She started her podcast in 2010, and that is the same year when I born. So that was really interesting, and maybe that was the reason she was hiding her age. She was not telling about that. It's really interesting. So, what legacy do you hope the undiscovered entrepreneur leaves behind?
So the legacy I want for the undiscovered entrepreneur is to be the place people go to get started. That's where I want to go with this, is whenever somebody wants to start an entrepreneur adventure, the first place they think of, first person they go to is Scoob or Jesse or however you go. They go to the undiscovered entrepreneur. That's one of the reasons why I called it that too, because it sounds like it's something from the beginning. And learn from whatever experiences that I put out, whatever experiences from the guests that I've had, and learn something about themselves that they can use to find their zone of genius and to get over the 4 hurdles of stop, to be able to say, hey, I did this because I was able to find help from the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. So that's the legacy I'd like to have for my podcast and for me, is to be the guy that everybody comes to get started.
Amazing. That is the best, I would say, best legacy. You know, the probably every host wants this from the podcast. That um, this is is 100%. Not everyone is starting their podcast, because of fun. There is some place of fun, but mostly some people want to earn from podcast, some people wants to learn, and some people wants to make a specific legacy, they want to leave behind. So this is your legacy, and I really like that. So thank you so much, JC, for giving me your precious time. And I'm a bit confused here that should I call you as Scoob or Jay-Z? But I like Scoob, I like the name Scoob. So thank you so much for giving me a precious time and valuable time for this. I'm also very excited to be on your podcast as I schedule a date for that. I'm very looking forward to be there. So thank you so much, listeners and viewers, for watching and listening to us. Inshallah, meet you soon with another amazing podcast with another amazing guest. Till then, stay peace and take care of yourself.